Good morning. Welcome to the October 13th, 2021 Retirement Town Hall meeting. One second. Who we are. This is Kim Coates-Tuck. She's the APFA National Retirement Specialist. I'm Patrick Hancock, the APFA Retirement Specialist Emeritus. I have no idea where those pictures came from. And we always give a shout out to Ron Harris. Ron Harris did a great deal of work on the presentation you're about to see. And he's a DFW flight attendant. We always want to say thanks to Ron. That's who we are. Who we are not is we're not the company. This is a union meeting. And I have worked for American Airlines long enough, become somewhat cynical about my management team. And I will occasionally say things about them that may offend people. If that happens, yeah. All right. We are also not your financial advisors. You may find you need financial advisors. We're not your attorneys. We're not your Medicare advisors. We're not your Social Security advisors. And you may or may not need to talk to all of those people. But we will try and make sure that we provide the information that we can provide. This is really interesting slide. We have approximately 24,623 members as of July 2021. Can you guess how many of them are over the age of 80? 8 decades? Close. We have 8 over the age of 80 right now. And they are not alone. We've got 112, 75 to 79. We've got 595 between the ages of 70 and 74. 1,691 between 65 and 69. We've got 3,640 in the 60 to 64 bucket. And we've got 5,655, the largest age group in the 55 to 59. That's 11,700 flight attendants, all of whom are eligible to retire today. And if it seems like APFA spends a lot of time and resources on helping people understand and get ready for retirement, this is why. It's an amazingly high percentage of our workforce. And then rounding that out, you see we've got smaller groups, and then we've got quite a bulge from when we were hiring a couple of years ago. And then for some reason, we don't have very many down in that last age group. Oh yeah, because we haven't hired in a couple of years. All right. Ms. Kim, what can you tell us on housekeeping?
Okay, so a few things about our presentation. The good slide handout follows our retirement packet called Good Slide. So anything we're covering in our presentation should also be in the retiree APFA retirement packet called Good Slide. It is downloadable on the APFA website, www.apfa.org. If you have any questions, well, we're going to be taking your questions along the way. So we've gone through them and we're going to do our best to answer as many as possible. If you haven't had a chance to submit your question via chat, go for it and we'll try and get to it at the end of the presentation. The retirement packet, APFA Good Slide, contains very valuable checklist. So if you're considering retirement, you want to flip to the back of the Good Slide packet, and there's checklists about everything you need to do prior to retirement, 6 months out, 3 months out, 30 days out, 30 days after. Very useful to a lot of people. Contact list has all the contacts for benefits, for the PBGC, for the AA pension department. If you need any of those numbers, they're all there, conveniently listed for you. And the most important contact of all, retirement@apfa.org. So that's how you reach us if you need anything or have any additional questions. All right, so what does retirement really mean? It's comprised of several components, and number 1 is your medical benefits. Number 2, your retirement benefits, such as your flight benefits from AA. And number 3 would be your pension and 401k benefits. Now we say 401k/pension benefits because a lot of us don't have pensions anymore, and 401k is going to be our main source of income other than Social Security when we retire. All right, the medical benefits. We all like to call that the incredible shrinking basket because we've all been zinged by various bankruptcies and our medical benefits are not what they once were. So that's a big question and issue that's driving people to work longer and retire later at this point. So here's some important questions you need to ask yourself if you're planning to retire. What do you need in order to retire? What do you get in retirement? What about income? That's a biggie. And what else do I need to research? Lots of little details like dental insurance, your FSA account. What do I do with that before I retire? So these are the things we're going to be covering in our presentation today, starting with what do you need to retire? So what do you need to retire? You need to be eligible. You need money. And you need, most of all, to be ready. In order to retire, you must have at least 10 years of company seniority based on your date of hire, and your age plus your company seniority has to equal 65 or more. That's what the company refers to as the 65-point plan. So money, the next component. Patrick, you want to talk to us about money?
Oh, sure. So when you're doing long-range planning, there are two major questions you have to answer. The first question is, how much do I need to have saved on the day I retire to last me the rest of my life? That's the goal. And I want to point out that on that day, you're probably going to be the richest you are ever going to be in your life because you've been accumulating and now you're going to start spending it down. So take pictures of all your bank statements and look back on it fondly later. And then once you've figured out what that goal is, you then have to ask the question, well, how much do I have to save each year to get to that goal? And that's where a financial planner comes in. They do an amazing job of helping you plot that out because there's frankly a lot of levers that you can adjust. You can downsize your lifestyle and need less money. You can change things like where do you live and reduce your housing costs. Or you may find out that you've got a lot more money than you really need and you can move someplace expensive. All right. The thing is, if you're thinking about retiring soon and you haven't begun to address these questions, you're going to have what the corporate speak is challenges, and you may be here longer than you would like to. My favorite cartoon in this whole thing is the one down at the bottom right there. I said you held Christmas off because I'll never get there. All right, so the general goal is you want to maintain the same lifestyle you've had while you were working. So if you retire at 67, the first question you need to answer is, how long am I going to live? Well, come on, how long? That's the first of our answers? Oh my God, that's not an answer. Really, seriously, how long am I going to live? And therefore, it becomes the first of our guesstimates. And that's going to be the most frustrating thing about retirement planning is that we want good, solid, right answers. There aren't any. What we have is statistical probabilities, guesstimates, likelihoods. And we're flight attendants, man. We hate that kind of gray area. We want it to be solid and defined, but it's not. So we have to deal with it. So the first of our guesstimates, your life expectancy in 2021 is 77.3 years. 2020 had the largest decline in life expectancy since World War II. Thank you, COVID. Thank you, opioid epidemic. But for men, that's 74.5 years for men, and for women, it's 80.2 years. Guys, I got a question. If we allegedly run the world, how did we let that happen? I mean, shouldn't life expectancy be one of those benefits of running the world? Maybe that's just a rumor. All right. Hey, it's less for African Americans and more for Hispanics. I got all this information out of the National Vital Statistics Report, volume 64, book 6. It is the best cure for insomnia I've ever found in my life. You take that on the way over, you're going to sleep like a baby. So that's the problem. That's the first of our guesstimates. And the problem is that's just an average. Half of us will die sooner than that time, and half of us will die later. You kind of have to ask the question, which half are you? And I love to tell the story. When I was in high school, I started going gray. And you know, in high school, you want to fit in, and here I'm getting gray hair. It was awful. It was horrible. I went home one day and I said, Mom, I discovered in biology class today that my gray hair is all your fault. Everything about a man's hair comes on the mother's genes. So what's going to happen next? Am I going to go bald in college? I mean, did any of my uncles or grandfathers or anybody go bald early? She says, oh, honey, none of them ever lived that long. Great. So I think I know which half I'm in. Which half are you in? All right. So, but that's only one of our guesstimates. We've got other guesstimates. So like salary projection, because we know salaries always go up. Unless you're in the airline industry. Yeah. Okay. How about inflation? Because we know inflation always goes up. Well, except for the last 12 years. Yeah. How about stock market returns? I'm not even going there. I mean, it's just crazy. And so that's the questions that you have to ask about financial. Then comes the hardest question of all. Are you ready to retire? Yeah. And the thing is, you need to be ready. And because we're flight attendants, we will ask everybody for their advice. You know, we'll ask our sister, maybe our spouse, our CPA, our financial advisor, that non-rev on the jump seat next to us that we've never seen before, with it says we're just flight attendants. And because most of those people love you and want you to have the best answer, they will give you the best answer for them. Because that's how people work. I mean, we don't know what the best answer is for you, so we'll give you your best answer for us. And you have to make the decision. I heard a story from someone that retired about 2 years ago, and she was calling with some new problem the company screwed her over with. And she said, you know, I wasn't sure, but I also wasn't sure I was going to be a flight attendant either, at least for more than 2 years. But I just felt that it was time and worth the effort and the risk. And she says it worked out fabulously. So you have to make that decision. Have you reached that point? Hey, questions. Josh, you got questions for us?
I do. All right. So our first question that we have, what is the last day we can give the company notice that we will be retiring if considering a retirement date of November 23rd, 2021?
Okay, I'll take that one. First of all, November 23rd, 2021 is the day before people are supposed to be vaccinated. So a lot of people are asking about this date. We want to assure you, as far as the company has been telling us, that they are not going to terminate people on November 24th. And they've also said they're not going to terminate people on December 8th. So there's going to be a process that you go through if you decide not to get vaccinated. And that process will probably occur starting on December 8th and after. And then if they really know that you want to retire, they'll tell you what to do, you know. So we don't want people jumping the gun and retiring sooner than they need to. So just be aware. We have details slowly coming in from the company, and we're going to give you more information as we receive it. So right now, if you're on, say, an EVLOA and you're thinking of retiring on November 23rd, you're not going to get your full pay for the EVLOA. So that's, not what you want to do. You want to get your benefits and you want to get your pay from the company as long as you possibly can before you retire. So just keep in mind that although these dates have been put out there, they're not drop dead dates in terms of termination. So that's the information we have right now, and we'll give you more as soon as we have it. But say you wanted to retire. There's a form that the Legacy US Airways people have to fill out called the retirement notification form that says 2 weeks. They need to give 2 weeks notice. So we just say a general rule of thumb for everybody, if you want to retire, to give the company at least 2 weeks notice. There have been circumstances where people have had to retire more quickly, but general rule of thumb is to give 2 weeks notice.
Thanks, Kev. Next question. I am on EVLOA until December. Is there a penalty for me to retire now?
Okay, so again, if you're on EVLOA and you're eligible to retire, you can retire at any time. But you'd be penalizing yourself if you retire now, because you wouldn't be paid all the money you're due for that EVLOA, and you'd be ending your benefits sooner. So yes, you can retire if you want to sooner, there's no penalty, except you're going to be losing out on some of the benefits associated with the EVLOA that you took that runs either through November 1st or December 1st.
It's up to them to pick the date that they.
Correct. It's up to you to pick the date, but
Yeah.
there's no rush to do it prior to the end of your EVLOA.
Okay, good. Also, what is time needed for submission to supervisor for notice for LUS flight at sea?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you.
They like between 30 days and 2 weeks. So that's a general rule of thumb, but that, you know, to be professional, the 2 weeks notice is always advised.
All right, Patrick, this one's for you. Another individual returning from EVLOA in December. They'd like to use up vacation scheduled and accumulated and transition from that right into retirement. The example is, say they have enough vacation scheduled already to cover the 40 hours minimum for 5 months and another 30 days accumulated left to bid, which would cover the following 3 months. Basically, they wouldn't be flying a single trip. Is it really necessary to attend new aircraft training and CQ training? Would it not be in vain?
It's amazing how the timing of CQ drives so many retirements because we just don't want to do another one, and I totally get it. And if you've been able to string those vacations out so that you've got, you know, 5 months of your 40 hours on vacation time, that's great. That's clever because you're really going to maximize it. However, you are going to have to go to CQ and get your 787 training because there are times where even though you think you're not going to be flying next month, you might be. The company could cancel your vacation. Think about that. And all of a sudden you're not qualified. So the company is going to require that you get qualified.
Okay. Is there any discussion as to whether there will be a type of package offer changes in the new contract?
Oh, that would be wonderful. We've had several, 3 VOPs and any number of permutations of leaving the company over the last couple of years. And I know that the negotiating team says that they always ask about packages, and I'm just not sure where we're going to end up on that. I also can't tell you when we're finally getting a new contract. So sometimes that's a drawn out process. You probably should be making decisions about retirement on what is available now instead of what might be available.
Hi, next question. Is a better retirement package being negotiated, such as the VOP, early out as a standard to include insurance funds in a spending account, lump sum payout, passes, etc.?
That's essentially the same question. And we would love to have another early out, whether or not the membership is interested in paying for that with some sort of reduction in other benefits or scheduling. I'll leave that question to the negotiating team. But if the company wants to go ahead and pay for it, like they did for the last 3 VOPs, we're always open to that.
Great. What happens to our ability to retire if our religious or medical accommodation is denied? Will we be able to file our retirement papers, or are we immediately terminated for not getting the vaccine?
Okay, so again, what we've been told is that nobody will be immediately terminated and there will be a process. So that's what we know right now. And Kathy Sharp in the health department has more information about the medical accommodations and religious accommodations. Where are those questions going to extension, APFA extension 8103?
Right. I think we're ready to move on to the next slide.
Okay, I think it's me.
Hey, Kim, what do we get in retirement?
Okay, so what do we get in retirement? This is an important question that a lot of people are asking about right now. Well, you get your travel privileges. You get paid for your vacation and sick time, as long as you're eligible for the 65-point plan with the sick time. You get a retirement gift, and you get the status of being an American Airlines retiree. You also get the option to purchase some really expensive retiree medical insurance if you're between 55 and 65 and not yet eligible for Medicare. So as far as our travel benefits go, you get your D1, D2R, D2P, D3, AA20, and 20% off your AA Advantage tickets. All non-rev travels booked through non-rev travel planner, and it looks exactly the same as it does on JetNet. but it's available via www.retirees.aa.com. That's the retirees website. Service charges are taken out just as they are now, and a good tip is if your D3s are traveling, get them to put down their own credit card. That way you don't get zinged when they travel. Z fares are booked through the My ID Travel, also on the retirees website. And the sad thing that we're all going to miss is there's no more jump seat authority and no more KCM.
How am I going to get on?
You might not. It's scary. So non-rev, there are some non-rev friendly travel agencies such as Perks and Dargal, and they offer cruises and all kinds of fun benefits for travel. So, and a good thing to remember, Ron Harris used to always say, if you're feeling kind of low, take one of those booze cruises out of Galveston that you book on Perks or Dargal. He said he went on one and made him feel so much better because he was the youngest and cutest person on the boat. All right, also, before you retire, global entry and TSA pre-check. If you are still on active status and you got a couple of months and it's coming due, you might want to try and let it get renewed one more time on the company dime. A lot of that depends on the timing, however. So if you've already taken a VOP, it's too late for that. All right, sick time and vacation. We get a lot of questions about this. Your unused sick time is paid out at a measly rate of $8.65 per sick hour. So we always recommend that if there's any medical services or procedures that need to be done prior to your retirement, that you get those done and you use the sick time at the full rate before you retire. Because it's termination pay, your sick time cannot be deferred into your 401k. All right, unused and accrued vacation is paid out at 4 hours per day at your rate of pay. That's the contractual rate, as long as you have at least 7 days of vacation total when you retire. If for some reason you have less than 7 days of vacation at the time of your retirement, it will be paid out at the contractual rate of $3 hours at 3.5 hours per day at your rate of pay. So most people do have at least 7 days of vacation sitting around at the time of their retirement. All right, you get a retirement gift. You contact your flight service manager within the last 30 days of employment and make sure that they're going to request your gift catalog for you. They can request it from an outsourced company, and sometimes it does take a while to receive it. The catalog comes with a commemorative certificate with your name. Make sure they spell it right. Your years of service. It's frameable. And also some lovely options for retirement gifts. And some of them are dust catchers, such as glass plaques. Here's one of them. Patrick says you can never have too much tail or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, also your status will be changing when you retire. Your status will be changing from that of Sky Goddess to Cat Rancher. All right, so retirees, to get your retiree ID, you submit an online request. You can submit that prior to your retirement via JetNet, and you upload your own glamour shot. You don't have to have one of those DMV type pictures. And you can also request it after you're retired via the retirees website. You use it for discounts on shipping, your FedEx discount. Nobody wants to lose that, and we don't in retirement. Hotels, car rentals. It's not actually used for travel. So a lot of people think, oh, I need to get my retirement ID or I won't be able to non-rev. Well, you can non-rev with your government issued ID. That's the main ID you need for travel, your passport or your driver's license. It's nice to have the retirement ID, but you don't need it to non-rev. Access to the AA retiree site is one of the perks you get as a retiree, and that's where you'll go to get all of your payroll information via the employee pay portal and all of your archived paperless pay and e-pays information. Also, your detailed sequence history will no longer be available once you retire. So it's advisable if you think you need this for your tax advisor or just for your general records to go ahead and print up your sequence history prior to your retirement. All right, if you're not able to retire, guess what? You can just quit. All right, in order to quit, you notify your manager. Your vacation will be paid out at the contractual rate. If you're LAA and you qualify for a pension, you'll be able to draw it once you have the age and the years of service, based on your age and years of service criteria. So you'll need to contact the AA pension department to find out about that. If you're LUS with a PBGC pension, the same applies, but you contact the PBGC to find out when you're eligible to commence that pension. Since you're not retiring, sick time is lost. So if you just quit, you don't get paid for your sick time. Well, we'll go on. All right, any questions at this point?
Yes, okay. Get this pulled up. How do we get an American retirement badge or card for non-rev travel? I think you just went over that.
I did just cover that, but I'll remind you once again, it's via the retirees website. Once you log on after you retire, up in the right-hand corner, it'll say right there, click here if you need a retirement ID. And also if you go prior to your retirement to the retirement guide on JetNet, there's like a 7-step guide and you go through step by step. And towards the end of that retirement guide is a link you can click on to pre-order your retirement ID. And you can upload your photograph and fill out the information, and it will be sent to you after your retirement.
Okay, another good one to repeat for everyone. What travel benefits am I entitled to, and is it unlimited?
You want to take that one, Patrick?
Sure. Your retiree travel benefits are almost identical to your active travel benefits with two differences. One is your unlimited D2s are D2Rs. So you get on the standby list between the D2s and the D2Ps, but it's still unlimited. It's still free except for your international taxes. And the second difference is that you get half of the number of D3s that you get as an active. So if you get 8 one-way D3s as an active, you get 4 one-way D3s as a retiree. I also want to point out that the D1s that you get, and it's the same 6 one-way you get as an active, are D1s and not D1Rs. So when you're burning a D1, you're going to be in the same standby bucket as the active D1s. So that's good.
Right. Are dependents children under age 24 still eligible for the 61s, and are they D2R status as well?
They are D2R status. Once you retire, all of your eligible travelers, other than the D3s, obviously, are D2Rs along with you. And yes, they're still eligible. All of your eligible D1 travelers still get the same allotment of D1s after you retire.
Great. Looking through these. All right, this individual has over 1,000 hours of sick time built up. What will happen with those hours if they still have them when it is time to retire? What's the best option when having so much time built up?
Well, the best option is to use them before you retire, obviously. And with circumstances that are going on now, sometimes that's not an option. And as we mentioned before, they will be paid out at $8.65 per sick hour, which if you have 1,000 sick hours, that's a pretty good chunk of change. However, it's not nearly as much as if you were to be able to use them prior to retirement. So if there's any way possible to do that, you should try and do that.
Okay.
I like to point out as an old person that I can testify that you don't get to be old without something being wrong with you. You, of course, should not call in sick if you're not sick, but that's one of the few unspoken advantages of being older is we got a bunch of stuff broken.
Speak for yourself.
I was.
Are the procedures for retiring any different if you are not active? I'm on long-term sick.
Okay, I'll take that one. No, as long as you're eligible to retire, you can retire at any time. You do not have to be active on payroll. You can retire from an IOD. You can retire from medical leave.
Does vacation pay go to 401k?
Vacation pay The vacation pay is eligible for the employee contribution, and this is your vacation payout when you retire. So your employee contribution will be taken out of that vacation pay and put into your 401k. It is not, however, eligible for the company contribution and match when you get paid out for your vacation upon retirement.
Okay, that same topic, when can they expect sick bank payout? Took the VOP effective 10/1/21.
Normally, I think the sick bank is paid out on your last paycheck, which is if you were getting your last bit of the VOP pay, and then the vacation payout is 2 weeks after that. So normally you get your sick time with your 15th paycheck, and then your vacation pay is paid out within 30 days of your retirement date.
I think contractually they have like some ridiculous number, like 45 days, but they normally pay it out pretty quick.
I'm just going through a couple more that were submitted. This individual retired on April 1st with the last VOP and was offered and will be officially off payroll. Can they keep claiming unemployment after December 1st, even though all flight attendants are recalled?
You take that one.
The short answer is it depends on your state. Even in a very liberal state with very flexible unemployment claim rules, you're getting pretty close to where you're just not eligible, because unemployment is designed to be the bridge between the time you leave and the time you're going back. If you're not going back anymore, or you're not actively seeking employment, then it's unlikely they're going to approve it. I think if you leave American and say you're going and looking for another job, welcome to Walmart, that you can say, I'm no longer working for American, but I'm now seeking other employment. And if you can do that honestly, I think you've got a shot at it. But again, it depends on your state.
Can I retire on QI?
On QI, yes, you can retire on QI because you're normally QI because you know, your medical leave has prevented you from going to training, or you're on a leave and you haven't yet attended training. So yes, you can retire from QI status.
Okay, and we'll take one more and continue. Legacy AAL, do we need to give 2 weeks notice to retire?
It's the preference, but it's not written down anywhere specifically that you need to give 2 weeks to retire. So recommended, but not required.
Let's continue on.
All right. Hey, let's talk about income.
So Patrick.
All right.
He's the income guy.
In retirement, you're going to have multiple streams of income, and ideally you're going to have your 401k money, you're going to have your IRA money coming in, you're going to have your Social Security, you're going to have your savings, and that has some weird looks that you might not think about. And if you've got one, you're going to have a pension. And whenever I talk about multiple streams of income, I like to think of it as like a 5-legged stool. And the reason that's important is that a 5-legged stool is very stable. Even if one of those legs gets kicked out from underneath you. Let's pick on Social Security. What if the United States Congress were to say, oh, you've saved in a tax-deferred 401k or IRA account? You have a pension that was tax deductible to your employer. You don't need as much Social Security as everyone else, and trimmed or eliminated your Social Security. They wouldn't do that. Oh, yeah? Remember how Social Security used to be 65 and now it's 66 or 67 or some weird number in there, depending on what year you were born? Yeah, they did that. And that goes back to when Ronald Reagan was president, and they were trying to find a way to balance the budget, because that was one of the things that they were all up about, was they needed to balance the budget. And they did that by moving your Social Security retirement date from 65 to 67. Their thinking was that by the time we figured out how we got screwed, that they'd be dead. They were right. I'm still mad about it, but yeah. But even if that one leg gets kicked out from underneath you, you're still going to have the other 3 or 4 legs there to support you. And every time I look at this list, I'm always glad that I work for a unionized workforce where my union is strong about making sure that I have all of these options available, because I contrast that with the over 50% of people on Social Security who only have Social Security. I mean, how secure is a one-legged stool? How secure is a financial plan when your entire financial life depends on the good graces of the United States Congress? Yeah, I don't want to be there. Hey, what about my 401k loan? Well, you've got a couple of options. The first is you can continue to pay the loan back on your current amortization schedule. Now, because you don't have a paycheck, you have to have it directed debited from your checking account, or you can just pay it off entirely if you can do that. The second option is you stop making payments and take the outstanding balance as a distribution, which will be taxed as income and subject to a penalty if you're not yet age 59 and a half. This is a very bad option. If there's any way you can avoid to having that declared a distribution, you should avoid it. Even if it's just like I can pay part of it back and then take a distribution on the rest. Hey, speaking of the 401k, one last thing to remember. Your 401k will freeze solid for the first 30 days after you exit from the company. You can't put money in, you can't take money out, you can't move your investments around. It's just frozen solid. So if you're going to need money in that first 30 days after retirement, you might want to consider rolling a little bit out before you retire so that you have it available. I do want to point out that if you need money out of your 401k in the first 30 days of retirement, you may not yet be ready. You should probably talk to a financial planner. You have options with your 401k. You can roll it into a new 401k. Welcome to Walmart. They've got a great 401k. They'd be glad to have you take all of your money at Americans and dump it into there. Before you do something like that, check the costs, the fees that each 401k charges. We have got so many people in our 401k. Our annual fees are really very low compared to the industry. You can roll it into an IRA, and there will be a lot of people encouraging you to roll it into an IRA. And it sometimes feels like an IRA and a 401k, they're both tax deferred, they're both kind of the same thing, and actually they're not. A 401k is a product of federal law, which means it's ERISA protected. And what that means is that if somebody sues you or you declare bankruptcy and people are trying to get at your 401k, it's 100% protected. An IRA, however, is a function of state law. So your amount of protection of your money in your IRA depends on what state you live in. Even when you move, the rules change. So I think it's Michigan, where if you've got money in an IRA and you get sued, you get to keep the first $50,000 and the grieving Chihuahua owner you ran over gets the rest. So, yeah. So think about moving it into an IRA and make sure that the person advising you to do that is not just doing it because they're going to make a huge commission when you roll that huge chunk of money over. And then lastly, you can just leave it where it is and manage it through Fidelity the way you've been doing. Go to netbenefits.com/AA and manage it just like you've been managing it now. And if you do that, you get to keep the cheap group fees management rates. Okay, IRA. We've got a pre-tax IRA and a post-tax IRA, kind of like, just like the 401k we've got. And we have income limits, however, on our IRA. And so if you have, and I'm gonna probably get this number wrong, but I believe it's $113,000 or more of income, then you are not, as an individual, you are not going to be able to contribute to your IRA for this year. As a matter of fact, I had my neighbor call me the other day and say, they won't let me contribute to my IRA for last year. And I'm like, yeah, because you made too much money. I mean, really. So, yeah. So there are income limits on it. And you can do the conversion from a 401k into an IRA. You can never go back back into a 401k. It's a one-way door. Questions?
All right. Can the 401k be maintained with American Airlines Credit Union?
The American Credit Union doesn't maintain the 401k. You of course, get to keep your American Airlines Credit Union membership. Once a member, always a member. The 401k has an option to park your money in cash over the credit union, and that continues to be an option if you leave your 401k at Fidelity.
Right. Retired at 10, I've retired on 10/1 and the Fidelity 401k is frozen for 30 days. What does this mean? What charges are there after 30 days? I know I can have it take a RMD and pay taxes on that. Anything else? Can I still leave it there and rebalance it like I always done? How much do I pay in service charges to leave it there? Can I roll over just half of it into an IRA?
Well, let's take the easy one first. Can I roll part of it into an IRA? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, some people do that. They talk to their financial advisor, they figure out, how much more income they can take this year before they trip into the next tax bracket, and they roll just that amount out. You can leave it, like I said, with Fidelity, and the fees are really low. I want to say that this year our fees are like $24 a quarter, so less than $100 a year, administrative fees, and that's really good. Yes, you can take your RMDs, and you have choices on how you get that money out. Particularly if you have RMDs, you want to be talking to the Fidelity people and make sure you're not missing out, because the penalty for not getting your RMDs are pretty severe. You can have them send you a check every month, just like a paycheck, or you can take it all out at the last minute so that you maximize the interest you earn while that money is in there. And they take the service charges out, and when you retire, just like they do when you're active, they take it out of your cash balance. If you have no cash, they take that $24 out by selling something, to $24 worth of something to get their fee.
All right.
I think you covered it. I found these limits, if you want to.
Oh, thank you.
Those.
Yeah.
Income limits for, was that it? The IRA?
Yes. The maximum contribution in an IRA is $6,000, and there's a $1,000 catch up. And you compare that with our 401k, where you can put $19,500 into the 401k plus. If you're over 50, you have the catch up of another $5,500 to give you a total of $25,000 for the year. Your income limits are $125,000 if you're single, $208,000 if you're married filing jointly for 2021.
Great.
Thank you.
What's the minimum age one must be to withdraw from someone from their 401k account without penalties, and what requirements surround this minimum age?
The minimum age is 59 and a half, and you have to be at least that age. You can't, it's not like I'm going to turn 59 and a half this year, I can do it. No, you have to actually have passed the day where you turn 59 and a half.
At what age is one required to begin withdrawing from one's 401k account?
Well, that depends. If you continue to work, like our 80-year-olds, for the employer where that 401k is, American Airlines 401k and American Airlines, you do not have to take out a dime. However, once you no longer work for that employer at 72, you start having required minimum distributions. They used to be 70 or 70 and a half. And with the tax adjustment bill 18 months ago, that is now age 72.
And it could change to 75 before too long.
It could, yes. That's in one of the bills working its way through Congress, which, you think, God, that's getting to be pretty old. Remember, the average age of death is 79. We're not even up to the halfway point when we say we've got a 75 RMD commencement date.
Right. Some more before we were. Do I have to wait to exit AA to take 401k and roll it into my Roth IRA?
No. You can do it in-service distribution like that if you are 59 and a half or older. Again, all that caveats about rolling it into an IRA. And you have to be careful about rolling Roth 401k into a Roth IRA and regular 401k into a regular IRA, because if you take regular 401k money and roll it into a Roth, that's just like you took the money out and then made the contribution. So you will have the taxes and the penalty on that. Whereas it's a straight rollover to rollover, and we call that custodian to custodian, where Fidelity sends your new investment people the check so that you don't get your grubby hands on it. Then there's no taxes withheld. You have to report it, but there's no taxes withheld.
All right, this one is really specific. How much do you have to take out of 401k if you are 70 yearly?
Well, right now, none, unless you want to, you know, buy that new Ferrari or something. But the required minimum distributions begin at 72 if you're retired. If you're still active, there's no RMD.
And if you are retired, it's based on how much money you actually have in your 401k.
Correct.
And it's calculated based on that.
Yeah, it's actually a percentage. It's actually really interesting. If you go to the IRS website, put in the 3 little letters RMD, you get a chart that says if you are this age, you must take this percentage out of your IRA and 401k. And just so you know why they do that, society has let you have that money accumulate tax-free for your retirement, not so that your heirs get a lot of money. So the goal is to have you spend all, or have that all taxed before you die. And so that required minimum distributions is to make sure that all that money comes out of the account before you die.
All right, great. Let's continue on.
All right, Kim, what can you tell us about Social Security?
Okay, I always get to talk about the boring stuff. Patrick gets the, you know, sexy income earning questions and so on. I get Social Security. We all remember sitting around and listening to our parents and grandparents talking about their aches and pains, along with talking about their Social Security. And now I find myself getting closer to that age, and I even told somebody to get off my lawn the other day. Scary. All right, Social Security may be taken as early as age 62, as late as age 70. There's no increase in your Social Security after age 70, so obviously there's no point in waiting longer to start taking it once you're 70 years old. The website for Social Security is www.ssa.gov. Married couples have some very complicated choices to make when it comes to filing for their Social Security. Single people have about 9 different options, and married couples have 81 different options. So that's why we say, please, please talk to a Social Security advisor and figure out what's going to be the most, I don't know, favorable way for you to take your Social Security. And there's also apps you can use Patrick is a geek, so he might want to do that. I probably wouldn't bother, but apps can show you how to optimize your Social Security benefits. So they're out there if you want to go that route. All right, when should I start? Well, that's a good question, and it goes back to the question we were asking earlier, which is, when am I going to die? So if you look at the blue line, that's somebody that takes their Social Security early at age 62. If you look at the red line, age 66, somebody's normal Social Security age. Where do the lines cross? The average age of death. So if you were somebody like one of Patrick's uncles who perhaps might die before they're old enough to find out if they're going to get gray hair, then you probably wanted to start your Social Security early. On the other hand, if you're like my grandmother, who was still driving at the age of 90, got a new car at 89, you probably want to wait and take your Social Security at the full Social Security age. So it really depends on your family history, and again, how long do you think you're going to live? All right, so pros and cons of taking your Social Security at age 62. One pro is that you get more years of payments, so that's a good thing. If you need it now, you can get more years of payments up front. Another pro, obviously, you need it now, you get it now. A con is that it's going to lower your payments for the rest of your life. So you'll get more payments, but they're going to be lower, and they're going to stay lower for the rest of your life. Another con is that you will be subject to income limits until you hit your Social Security normal retirement age. So if you start your Social Security early and you want to work another job, you're going to be limited on how much income. Well, you're not limited on how much income you can make, but you will be taxed at a higher rate once that income hits more than, what is it, 16?
Next. Click.
Oh, next slide. Okay. So the income limit for 2021 is $18,960 that you can make. And then after that, you deduct $1 of benefits for every $2 earned over that amount. The break-even point, as I said before, the average age of death, and who the heck knows when they're gonna die, but we still have to make these decisions. All right, so full Social Security at your, what am I talking about here?
This is the special income limit for the year in which you
Oh, okay.
switch.
All right, so there is a special, if you retire, say, in the middle of a calendar year or something like that, you're not subject to the same limitations that you would be
That
after you start your
18,000.
Social Security, that 18,000. So you're taking, well, it's not early, is it?
Yeah.
You can explain this better than me. I'm handing this one to you, Patrick.
All right, well, Kim was saying that if
We
you
changed our
start.
slides recently.
Exactly. Kim was saying that if you take your Social Security early, you're limited on how much you can earn to $18,960. But what if I retire before my full Social Security age, which let's say it's 66, I retire before that, in the middle of the year, I'm gonna have made more than 18,000 by one of the day I retire. And so the Social Security Administration has a special $50,520 income limit. And if you retire in the mid-year and you're still not yet your Social Security normal retirement age, what is your Social Security normal retirement age? Here's the chart. That if you were born before 1943, it's
43.
It's 65. At 43, it becomes 66, and goes all the way through. If you're born 1960 and later, it's 67, which will be true for most of us.
Okay, so I will try and take it from here.
Well, actually, let me just keep going.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. All right, so what counts as earnings? Well, because, if you're limited to $18,900, what are earnings? I mean, my pension may be more than that. Well, earnings are income from wages or net earnings from self-employment. You're selling little tchotchkes down at the White Elephant. Yeah. So if your income from wages and self-employment, which includes bonuses, commissions, severance pay, all count toward that $18,900 limit. Earnings do not include investment income. So you've got that money earning income over at the credit union, that interest doesn't count. Pensions don't count. Capital gains don't count. Inheritance don't count. Therefore, dividends and capital gains don't negatively affect your Social Security benefits directly, even if you filed before full retirement age. How to avoid all of that? Just wait until your normal retirement age. Hey, Patrick, are we going to tax my Social Security? Oh, yeah, of course we are. Well, most of it anyway. The first 15% of your Social Security is tax-free. Bill Gates does not pay taxes on the first 15% of Social Security. Now, how much of the rest of that is taxable depends on your combined income for the rest of the year. You may pay 0%, 50%, or 85%. And notice, this is not the tax rate, it's how much of that rest of that is going to be taxed. So if you make $0 to $25,000 or $32,000 joint, none of your Social Security is taxable, which is really cool. If you make between 32 and 44 for a couple, it's 50% of the Social Security will be taxed at whatever your tax rate is. And if you make over 44,000, you're going to be in the 85%. Well, yeah, that's federal, but what about taxes? Well, estate taxes. Well, 37 states your Social Security is state tax free. 13 states do tax some or all of your Social Security. Most of them follow that federal government thing. And the 13 states that do tax are Colorado, Connecticut, Kansas, West Virginia. All right. So that's Social Security. What about those other legs of the five-legged stool? Let's look at savings. And, when we think about savings, we think about cash, stocks, bonds, that sort of thing. But you may have some hidden savings as well. For instance, home equity. You may be able to tap your home equity either through, downsizing or even a reverse mortgage, although they're getting better.
Not great.
They're still not a good idea because the fees and the interest that accumulates on that works against you over time. With a regular mortgage, as I pay down my mortgage, my interest rates go down. With the reverse mortgage, it's the reverse. I start out relatively small, but the longer I live, the more interest accumulates that and the interest on the interest. So, and then, hey, life insurance. You may have some cash value in your life insurance you can take out. I always like to point out that that's your life insurance policy that you get, not what you get if your spouse mysteriously dies.
And
okay?
not our AA life insurance.
Yeah.
It does not have a cash value.
Right, that's a term policy. What about my pension, Kim?
All right, so if you have a pension, it's dependent on where you started your career, and that is going to determine how and when you can take your pension. So if you were a legacy US Airways flight attendant, you have one set of rules. If you're a legacy AA, you have another set of rules. And for the US Airways folks, there were a lot of different carriers prior to various mergers, and sometimes their pension plans were different, and those rules were merged into the US Airways pension plans. So here's a basic chart. If you were a shuttle flight attendant, your early pension age is age 52, and your full pension age is age 62. There's a 3% reduction in the full value of your pension for every year you take it prior to the full pension age. So remember that if you start your pension at age 52 and you're a shuttle flight attendant, that reduction is going to stay in place for the life of the pension. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to take it early. Now the Piedmont, Allegheny, and US Airways flight attendants, your early pension age is age 65, your full pension age is age 62, and the 3% reduction applies across the board. PSA, your early pension age is age 55, and your full pension age, you have to wait till 65 to get to the full pension age. So also the 3% reduction applies if you started early at age 55. The AA pensions, your early pension age is age 55 and your full pension age is age 60. The 3% reduction also applies if you decide to take it anywhere between 55 and 59, and rather than waiting to start it at the full pension age. Unfortunately for the legacy AA flight attendants, there's no double dipping as there is with the people whose pensions are held by the PBGC. So double dipping, we got a little update about that, and that's basically the former working retirement restrictions went away as of June 1st of 2021. So PBGC pension holders who formerly had to wait till a certain age to double dip can now start at the early pension age. Once they reach that age and you're still working, you can collect your pension and work. As we mentioned before, those early reductions do still apply. And there's no reduction at the full pension age if you want to wait till the full pension age. All right, so pension options. How many different ways can I get my money? There's so many. Patrick, you want to discuss them?
Oh, sure. That's a great question. How many different ways can I get my money? Well, there are three basic ways to get your money. There's the single life annuity, and PBGC calls that a straight life annuity, but we're an airline, so we use an acronym, SLA. It works. All right, single life annuity. And then secondly, you have a choice to share with someone else. And I do remind you, it is nice to share. And then the third option is you can get a minimum number of checks. All of those will allow you to you will get checks for your life. Even if you take the minimum number of checks, you get checks for life. And then if you're LAA, there's a fourth option, which is more upfront, less later, level income option. Let's look at those. Single life annuity. You get a check every month until you're dead. Questions? Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I mean, that's what most of us think about when we think about a pension. A payment every month is an annuity. For life means that it's a life annuity, and it's for one life, yours, which is where we get that single life or straight life annuity. And the thing about the SLA is the single life annuity is the normal form of benefit. And when I say normal, I mean a couple of things. Yeah, most people, maybe 50%, maybe somewhere north of that, take the single life annuity, so that's normal. And the second is, remember when we were talking about planning, you had to figure out how long I'm going to live, how long I'm going to work, what's inflation. When the company is funding your pension, they have to ask the same questions. How long are you going to live? How long are you going to work? What your wage is going to be? And how are you going to take the benefit? And so when they're doing that calculations 30 or 40 years before you actually begin your benefit, they assume you're going to take that single life annuity. And that's what they fund for. They say, we're gonna put enough money in the pension so that when you get ready to retire, that can be paid out. And therefore, that's how much money's in there, and the value of that single life determines the other SLA options. Well, what about those other options? Well, it's nice to share. That's a pension for your life and someone else's life as well. You're going to get an annuity for as long as you live. You don't both get checks at the same time. And then once you die, they survive you, they get an annuity for as long as they live. So because they survived you, we call that the survivor annuity. Now remember, it's the same big pile of money. We're just dividing it up into more checks. And you can choose to leave them 50 to 100% of what you get, not your single life annuity amount, but your share of the joint annuity. The problem is, the more you leave them, the less you get while you're alive. Well, I guess I have to leave both of something, because otherwise we're going to be living under the bridge. So, all right, I'll bite the bullet and I will take less money while I'm alive so that they've got something after I'm gone. I'll just do it. But what happens if they die first? Oh, crap. I'm stuck with a lower monthly amount. I would have had a higher amount with the SLA. There's a technical term for that. You're screwed, is what that is. So, but you know, it's a risk you have to take. If I'm going to cover them, I have to take that risk. However, there's a way to cover that risk. Flight attendants have another option called the pop-up option. And what that says is by taking a slightly lower amount each month, you can cover the risk that the joint annuity dies first. I know you married that 22-year-old pool boy, you go girl, but you know, things happen. Maybe the only reason things worked is you were gone 3 days a week. Those mysterious chlorine deaths, you know. But if that joint annuitant dies first, your next month you pop back up to the single life annuity amount as though you never had a joint annuitant option. The cost, how much less you get by taking the pop-up over the non-pop-up is generally pretty small. It depends on your age spread, actually. Most people who take a joint survivor take it with the pop-up option because life is uncertain. It really is. So you want to cover that risk.
I was just talking to someone about that yesterday.
Ah, yes, the pop-up is a great thing. And most people are going to want to take one of these two options. And by most people, I mean north of 95% people will tell you take a single life annuity or the joint survivor with the pop-up. But there is another option, and we'll tell you about it real quick. It's called the guaranteed period certain. And that means that your checks are going to come for a minimum of 10, 15, or 20 years, or 5, 10, or 15 LUS. And what that means is if you retire, you take the guaranteed period certain, you live a year, and you took the 20-year period certain, after you're dead, checks will come for 19 more years because it's the guaranteed period. And you get to determine the beneficiary, who's going to get those checks after you're gone. If you live for 30 years, you made the wrong choice because the checks will come for 30 years, but you would have had more money with a single life annuity. Why would anyone do that? Why would someone take less to have a guarantee? The only time we ever see it is where you're pretty darn sure you're going to be dead soon. Classic example is I had a flight attendant call a couple years ago. She says, hey, I'm retiring. I'm trying to set my pension up. I'm trying to make my daughter my joint and survivor annuitant, but she's 20. And when I take it as a single life annuity, it's $2,000 a month. When I plug her in as the joint and survivor annuitant, it drops down to $800 a month for me. And then she gets half of that, $400 a month after I'm dead. I go, well, most people don't put a younger person on. Why are you doing this? She said, oh, I'm going to be dead soon. I have pancreatic cancer. I said, well, let's look at the 20-year period certain. And she did. And it turned out to $1,800 a month was going to be her pension amount with the guaranteed period certain. That's what she did. She did die 6 months later. Her daughter will get the rest of that 19 and a half years at the $1,800 a month. And I said, now, you know, she's going to be 40 and the checks are going to stop. She says, honey, if she still needs help after that, I did something wrong anyway. If you're legacy A, you have a fourth option. That's level income, more upfront, less later. And that's usually for people that took the sudden out. Yeah, you know, the sudden out where you didn't really plan on retiring, but all of a sudden you are. Yeah, like your supervisor and your base president meet you on the jet bridge. Yeah. And you just don't have the money now and you're willing to take less. We'll line it up so that you get more until age 62 or more until your Social Security normal retirement age. The expectation is that that'll bridge you to Social Security, but we don't know or care if you take Social Security. And And the break-even point on that, oddly enough, the average age of death. So how do I apply for my pension? Well, you can ask for your pension paperwork no earlier than 90 days before you start your pension. If you call 91 days out, they'll say, nope, call back. At LAA, we call that paperwork packet a kit, and you can request a kit over the phone by calling the Pension Service Center, 800-447-2000, options 1, 3, 4, or easier is you can visit the Pension Service Center at JetNet and request your pension. That same place where you requested your pension estimate, there's a button that says Get My Pension. If you're LUS, you need to contact the PBGC directly at the 800 number and go to the pbgc.gov if you want to request it online. Hey, is my pension taxable? Oh yeah, your taxes on pensions. You pay federal income on taxes on pension as ordinary income, either somewhere between 10 and 37%. How much? What tax rate? Depends on your total income. So we add up your pension, we add up any other income, we add up any taxable amount of your Social Security, because remember, part of your Social Security may or may not be taxable. And we look at, and if you're single and your taxable income is 40 to 85,000, you're in the 22% bracket. If your taxable income is 518,000 or more, I could be single. And your tax bracket is 37%. Some states don't tax your pension. 14 states don't tax or only tax a portion of the pension in 4 different states. The rest of the states tax it as ordinary income. Remember, your mileage may vary. These numbers are used for some mythical flight attendant and not for you. Hey, Kim, you got any pension tips for us?
I've got some good pension tips for us. Okay, so see, where are my pension tips? There you go. Pension kits can be requested from AA or the PBGC no more than 90 days out from your retirement date. Pensions always start, now the PBGC, that's changed, so 90 days out from your benefit commencement date,
Yeah.
we should say, rather than your retirement date.
No.
Yes, pensions can always start on the 1st of the calendar month. So you want to be done with your last trip before the end of the calendar month. If you're retiring and you have a fly-through trip, that's going to mess with your ability to start your pension, because if you're not retired on the 1st of the month, then your pension can't start on the 1st of the month. And that's for the LAA people, obviously. More pension tips. Have copies of all divorce decrees from every divorce while you were employed by the company. So if you're a LUS person, if you were married and divorced while you were working for US Airways or one of the pre-merger airlines, you need to have those divorce decrees. If you were married and divorced when you were young, way before you started with the airline, then you don't need those divorce decrees. AA, any of the time you were hired by AA, employed by AA, you need any divorce paperwork for that period of time. But all of them. I'm going to have to do more than one, I hate to admit. If you're widowed or a widower, you need a copy of the death certificate when you return your pension kit. And the first month of the pension kit, of your pension is always paid retroactively. So prepare to wait at least 6 to 8 weeks for your first pension kit. So say you retire on October 1st, you might not get your first pension check until probably December 1st or even January 1st, but it will pay retroactively as of the first month of your retirement, as long as you got your paperwork in on time. Okay, the qualified pre-retirement survivor annuity is a form that's available to the legacy of American Airlines flight attendants. Federal law says that your spouse automatically gets a 50% joint and survivor annuity if you pass away prior to commencing your pension. This form would allow you to leave 100% of your pension to your spouse if you were to die before you commence your pension payments. The form can be found on JetNet in the retirement section and also on the APFA website. And flight attendants are the only group among the company that we don't have to pay for it. So if you talk to a pilot, they'll say, don't fill out the QPSA form because it's going to reduce your pension. That does not apply to the flight attendants. We don't have to pay for it. It was a negotiated benefit. Also, Unfortunately, no deathbed marriages. You must have been married at least 12 months in order to use this form. So something to keep in mind. All right, any questions about pensions?
We have quite a few. So we can
Let's
take,
fire through them. Let's
yeah,
go
let's
through 'em.
take 10 minutes to go through these. If there's any left over, we'll take at the end.
And they're all down to Patrick, but maybe I'll take some.
All right, this individual is 57 and has been with AA for 26 years. They read in the retirement package that they qualified to receive pension at a reduced rate of 3% penalty each month. Will that change when they turn 60 years old to where there's no penalty for withdrawal and they get the full amount?
That's actually a little complicated. You can get your pension if you retire, not before. And you can retire and not start your pension. So you actually have a choice of determining whether or not you're going to take that 3% hit. You will take a 3% for each year prior to age 60. If you wait and start your pension at 60, there will be no reduction, assuming, of course, you've got the 15 years of eligibility.
But the reduction does last for the life of the
reduction lasts,
pension.
yeah. If you start at 59 and take a 3%, that 3% reduction is for the rest of your life.
All right. For pensions, what portion of JetNet and VIP crew are available for information for the retirees?
You don't get any of the VIP crew access and you don't get JetNet, but you get the retirees.aa.com, which looks surprisingly like JetNet and has the non-rep travel planner and the payroll access and those sorts of things. What you don't have access to is flight service, because we have all of that safety and security information on there that you're no longer an active employee, you don't need access to.
If I were to start collecting my pension early, is there a penalty on how much? This is a legacy AA flight, isn't it? If so, will the penalties stop being assessed at age 62 and the regular amount go into effect then?
That's exactly what Kim was just saying, that if you take a reduction, it is for the rest of your life. It doesn't go pop back up to the full amount when you hit the full age.
Okay, explain level income option pre-62 participant amount.
Okay, if you take the level income option, there's two amounts. The one you're going to get until you're age 62, and then the one you're going to get after age 62. When you look at your estimate, it's a pair. It'll say pre and post age 62.
If I'm terminated for any reason, do I lose my pension?
Now, if those pardon my language, if those folks could figure out a way to cheat you out of your pension, they would. Therefore, there's virtually no way for them to get you out of your pension. If you steal a 777, we are going to send your pension check to the prison.
All right. What are the penalties or repercussions if I retire before age 60?
None. The question is, when do you start your pension? Because you can leave at 55 and not start your pension until 60.
With our pension plan, is the annuity option a guaranteed annuity? If AA was to go into bankruptcy and I'm already retired, is my pension guaranteed?
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that one. So if AA were to go into bankruptcy, we have the PBGC as a backup. So AA is paying premiums to the PBGC. And if our pensions were to go to the PBGC, in most circumstances, the pensions would not be reduced and they would be protected by the PBGC. There's a limit below which your pension would not be reduced. And it's about, what, 56,000 or something along those lines. So unfortunately, I have yet to see any flight attendants, and I think Patrick's only seen one whose pension is worth 56,000 a year. I wish that weren't the case, and this was something we had to worry about. But if our pensions go to the PBGC, they would be protected, and in most cases, they would not be reduced. There are a few situations if you start your pension early where it could be reduced. There would be some sort of penalty if it went to the PBGC. It wouldn't be taken away though. And anything else I should cover with that?
I was just going to say it's a good news, bad news thing. The good news is the PBGC won't reduce your pension. The bad news is it's because it's too small.
Yeah, and the pilots would again probably see a hit if their pensions went to the PBGC. So
They worry about a lot more than I do.
different things for different work groups.
All right. Can we continue collecting unemployment once we receive our pension checks?
Depends on your state and depends on whether or not you meet the requirements for unemployment in your state. Most states require that you be seeking new employment in order to be eligible for unemployment.
At what age, LAA, can one claim full pension?
age 60.
I want to start receiving my pension when I officially retire on October 31st. What do I need to do as far as paperwork, or who do I contact regarding this process?
I'll take that one. So in order to retire, you need to contact your flight service manager. Notify management, and as we mentioned before, it's good to give them a 2 weeks notice. Not totally required if you're an LAA flight attendant. If you're LUS, there is a form that you have to fill out, and they do require a 2 weeks notice. So basically, that's the minimum for notification to the company. If you're going to start your pension, we recommend you do that, between 60 and 90 days out. That's a good frame of reference. Go ahead, if you're thinking about retiring, say on December 1st, go ahead and request your pension paperwork from either the PBGC or AA now. If you don't fill it out and send it in, it's not going to lock you in. Another thing to think about if you're going to retire is, are you Medicare eligible? Because there's things you need to do to get signed up for Medicare, and we will cover that further on in our presentation.
All right, this flight attendant had major surgery and is on medical leave at 55 and will have 32 years. They'll be eligible to retire with the pension that was frozen. Are they able to collect their pension and Social Security disability that they're presently on?
That's actually a great question, because there are some disabilities, for instance, American Airlines long-term disability, which will reduce your LTD payments by the amount of your pension. Social Security disability does not. That Social Security disability is a coverage you've been purchasing through your contributions through your paycheck for your entire working career, and they do not reduce your Social Security disability by the amount of your other income.
Okay. This question, is it true that since their pensions have been frozen, American Legacy, they will be getting the amount shown on the Fidelity Net Benefits homepage for their 401k?
That's a great question. The Fidelity went out to what we would call the Pension Service Center and pulled in the amount of the single life annuity. Now, remember, we've talked that there are many ways you can take it where you're going to get less than the single life annuity, like if you share it with someone else. That number on the Fidelity homepage is your single life annuity amount. I like to think of that as probably the maximum, unless you do the weird level income thing, but that's a good number because they pulled it right out of that pension estimate that you look at on the Pension Service Center. And I'll tell you, those pension estimates, we've looked at a lot of them and then seen what the final number is when people start getting checks, and they're usually right within like $1. I mean, they're pretty right on.
Yeah, but what they see on Fidelity is just one of the options.
Just one of your, 6 pages of options.
All right, Legacy AA question. Can I start withdrawing my pension at age 65? And if not, why?
If you're a Legacy AA flight attendant and you have retired, you can start commencing your pension at age 60 or before. But if you're age 65 and older, there's no double dipping for the LAA pensions. And that's because of the way the pension plan was written, and it's still held by AA in trust with State Street Bank. It's not held by the PBGC, and there's a different set of rules. So that's basically the reason. And we have kind of looked at changing that rule, but it's for a small number of people and it would cost a lot of money. So we don't know whether that's really feasible to get that rule changed. You have any comments on that, Patrick? Or nope?
No.
Okay.
I think you answered this one already. What is the earliest age the LAA pension can be received? And you said 60, correct?
No, earliest is 55.
50, okay.
Right, and full pension is 60,
Right.
as long as you've retired for
Okay.
both.
So 55 and 60 are the magic numbers.
Mm-hmm.
How old do you have to be to take your full pension, LAA?
Full pension, age 60.
Yep.
And as long as you have at least 10 years of what they call retirement eligibility service. So if for some reason you have less than 10 years of retirement eligibility service, when you leave the company, you would then have to wait till age 65. But for most people, it's going to be the full pension age is age 60.
How do I view my pension?
You view your pension by going to JetNet, click on Team Member Services, click on Leaving American, click on Pension Service Center, and then read more. and then your own personal page in the Pension Service Center will open up, and your name will be in the left-hand corner, and above your name, it will click on My Pension, and you go from there and follow the prompts.
We have just a few more. We'll go ahead and go through and continue on with the presentation. Does the pension amount go up each month that we wait to withdraw, to draw it? For instance, is there a difference if I draw at age 55 versus drawing at 55 and 6 months?
That's a great question. And this is going to sound like a technical answer. Your full pension is at 60. If you started at 55, it's not that it didn't go up from 55 to 60, you reduced it by taking it earlier. And it's actually by the month. So you would only take, if you started at 55 in 6 months, you'd only take a 1.5% reduction, because that's 6 months worth of the 3% reduction per year.
This is a similar question, I guess, to you asked, Flight Attendant. What are the pros and cons of withdrawing from PBGC at age 64? Estimates at 65, 67, and 70 are high, as they've always been a high time flyer.
I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. All right, the pros and cons are, if you take it now, with the slightly lower amount, because you aren't getting those delayed credits. If you wait to start your pension, you can get delayed credits, and your delayed credits depend on which pension plan you're in. Just like if you wait on Social Security, you get more the longer you wait. You will see that in some of the LUS plans, that if you started at 65, you wait till 66, you'll get slightly more. The pros and cons are, the pros, you get more money when you start. The cons are, you're closer to death, so you will get fewer checks. And if the question is, when are you going to die?
Well, and also if it's a difference of, say, $20 by waiting a year to take your pension, and your pension's worth, over $1,000 a month, you're really going to do better by starting it now. But if you have plenty of money now, it's a tax issue, and you want to wait and start it later and let it be higher, go for it.
Yeah, and what I do is I sit down and I say, okay, if I start it now, I'm going to wait 1 year, I'm going to get X amount of dollars more per year, but I will have given up 1 year of the pension. How many years am I going to have to get that higher amount to break even, to make up for that 1 year I missed? Most of the time, you will find that that is at the average age of death, because that's how actuaries figure that out.
Right, just a couple more. On my pension summary, when referring to SSNRA, is that 62, 65, or 67? My birth year is 1966, and according to SSN, my RA is 27, or 67, sorry.
SSNRA depends on the year you were born, and it was in the little chart that we showed earlier. You can go back and look at it on our recording after we finish the meeting, but for anybody who was born after 1960, it is age 67. So SSNRA stands for Social Security Normal Retirement Age.
How do I calculate my pension?
There's a long description and formula that nobody uses, because the computer will do it for you. You use the instructions that Kim just gave you, and if you download the Good Slide handout, you will find those instructions with what I call a click-by-click instructions on how to get that.
Or if you're a PBGC pension holder, there's not a tool that you can go on the My PBGC website and My PBA website and do it yourself, but you have to request an estimate from the PBGC. And you can do that by calling them, and they'll send it to you.
Can you repeat again slowly how to get to the pension info again? I think that they're asking for how to review their benefit.
The Legacy AA pensions on JetNet. Log into JetNet, click on Team Member Services on the top menu bar, and it's on, I think, page 14 of the APFA retirement packet as well, how to get there. So Team Member Services, then Leaving American, then Pension Service Center, click on Read More. And once you do that, your personal page of the AA Pension Service Center will open up, and you can access your pension information by clicking on My Pension above your name, which is in the left-hand corner.
Page 17.
Page
Click-by-click instructions.
Yay.
All right. If a flight attendant dies before taking their pension, can or does the pension go to their child?
No. If you die before you start your pension, the only person who will inherit that pension is a legally married spouse, someone you've been married to for more than 1 year. And federal law says they get 50%. If you are an LAA flight attendant, you can increase that to 100% by filling out the form that Kim was talking about, that QUIPSA form, Qualified Pre-Retirement Spousal Annuity.
So if you're an unmarried person and you want to leave your pension to someone else, make sure you retire before you die.
And this is going to sound kind of morbid, but make sure everyone in your life knows that you need to retire before you die, probably once or twice a year. We do what we call the rush retirement. Someone is in ICU on life support and they need to be retired and have their pension initiated before they die. Kim will hand carry the forms over to the company. We'll get them faxed off to you. You'll come out of your coma long enough to put your X on it. We'll get them back to the company and they stamp it and say, okay, they're retired and their pension has started. Now you can go.
Okay, why does ex-spouse info is needed for divorce decree? Does the ex get any portion of the pension?
It depends.
It depends on what you negotiated in your divorce decree. If in your divorce decree will either be silent on the issue, which means they get nothing, or it will say some division. If the divorce decree says there's some division, then normally there's also a court order telling the pension company how that should be divided, and we call that a quadro, Qualified Domestic Relations Order. The reason they need to see your full pension is that they're afraid that the pension, or full divorce decree, is they're afraid the divorce decree says your nasty ex gets something and you're going to lie about it and not tell them about it. So they want to see the full decree and make sure that they really got nothing.
There was something said before that you can have your pension continue to your spouse if you pass on. Can you explain that one more time?
Sure. When you retire, you get the option to take it all for your life, single life annuity, or you can say, I want to leave it for someone else. And that someone else can be your spouse. It can be your sister. It can be me, HAN.
Don't do it.
Yeah. And but you have to make that decision at the time that you start your pension. You can't start out a single life annuity, find Mr. Right, get married and change your pension. But whatever you elect at the time you start your pension is what's happens. And that includes if Mr. Right turns out to be Mr. Wrong after you've already designated them as your joint annuitant. Guess what? They're going to get it.
With Legacy AA for 26 years, they're 57. Will their pension be reduced by 3% every year after 60 for life?
Sorry.
It's a 3% for life.
The 3% is for life. So if they started early, anytime before age 60, that 3% is per life.
So at 57 would be a 9% reduction, and that applies for life.
All right, last pension question, and we're moving on. Let's assume this individual is 70.5 years of age and Legacy AA, not permitted while still working to take their pension, which is frozen. Each year, how much more per year can I expect when I do retire and then take my pension?
It's a tricky question. I'll let you take it.
That was that delayed pension credits I was talking about. And it depends on your gender, because it's based on how long we think you're going to live and draw pensions. It's based on the amount of your pension, the dollar size. And so there's the best thing I would recommend is that if you're really curious, you can go online and go to chat or call the Pension Service Center and say you'd like to see a pension estimate for some age past 70 and a half, because the online calculator will not do those. Those all have to be done by hand. So
when you request those, it normally takes a little bit longer because it has to be calculated by hand. And the only time that Legacy AA people will see any kind of an increase is if they retire after age 70 and if they commence their pension after age 70 and a half. And it's not like a huge increase, like waiting for Social Security for age 70. It's a very gradual monthly increase. So don't think if you wait till age 70 and have to start your pension, boom, you're going to see a huge increase. It doesn't work that way.
But if you wait till age 80, you'll see a good.
What's the form legacy AA flight attendants need to fill out for their hubby to get 100% of the pension?
That's called the QPSA form. It's QPSA.
It's on the Pension Service Center website, on the left
APFA
bar,
website.
on the APFA website, and it's also page number 36
In our
in
retirement.
our
packet.
retirement handbook. Good slide.
All right, let's continue on. Back to you guys. Thank you for answering all those questions.
All right, so I'm going to talk about medical insurance options. We've got a lot of questions about this and we're running out of time. So, all right, so here are the various medical options for when you retire, and kind of they're grouped by price point. So COBRA is an option for, it's offered to everybody after they retire. So it's pretty pricey. Then another option is your AA retiree medical insurance. It's even more pricey, extremely pricey. Affordable Care Act could be pricey, could be comparable to COBRA. It depends on your state and the options available. And then Medicare is usually the most reasonable option, but you have to be eligible for Medicare for that to be one of your options. And the old-fashioned way, you can marry someone with insurance or die young, but we don't want to do that. So let's look at the other options. COBRA. COBRA is a way to continue the exact health insurance you had as an active employee. A good thing about it, you don't have to reestablish your deductible or your out-of-pocket max. Kind of a more negative is that the participant pays the full cost plus a 2% administrative fee. Now, if you took a VOP, you got access to to active rate COBRA. So you're going to be, if you choose COBRA and you took the VOP, you'll have a COBRA that offered to you that's comparable to what your active benefits were. But anybody else in a regular retirement, they're going to have to pay the full cost plus the 2% admin fee. Coverage lasts for 18 months. It can last for up to 29 months if you become eligible for Social Security disability. It must be elected within 60 days of leaving the company, and it's a one-shot deal. So if you don't take it during that COBRA election period, they're not going to offer it to you again. You can't come back and say, oh, I want to take my COBRA now, if it's past the 60 days. All right, so COBRA can include medical, dental, vision, and your flex spending. You can mix and match the coverage. So you can just take if most people, for instance, who are Medicare eligible, go on Medicare and they COBRA their dental and vision because Medicare doesn't have really good options for dental and vision. Once your coverage begins, it's retroactive to the date you leave American Airlines. So say you retired on October 1st, it's going to take them a little while to get you the COBRA packet in the mail or to get the COBRA elections information on the retiree's website. But once you elect that COBRA coverage, it's retro to the date of your retirement. There's always going to be a little bit of an administrative gap, but once you sign up for the COBRA, it will be as though you never lost your coverage. All right, your payments. Being on time for your payments is very important. You don't want to be late or the coverage will be dropped. One last thing, if you're eligible for Medicare, COBRA is not considered to be creditable coverage as an alternative to Medicare. So if you're eligible for Medicare, either because of your age or because you became eligible due to a prior disability, you can't have COBRA as your primary coverage. You must go on Medicare when you retire. You can COBRA the dental and the vision, which is what most people do, but some people mistakenly think they can continue their active benefits through COBRA and delay going on Medicare. And if you do that, you could be subject to late enrollment penalties. So it's not something you want to risk doing. COBRA is always secondary to Medicare. Okay, so AA retiree medical benefits are still there, but they're not such a good deal. You've got to be between 55 and 65 at the time of your retirement, and you must be eligible for the 65-point plan in order to be eligible for these benefits. The participant pays the full cost, and the price is uncapped, and it varies quite a bit from year to year. So it's somewhat unstable if you're on a fixed income. It can be, hard to manage if you want to choose this coverage. All right, it's a good, really good coverage, just comparable to the old AA standard medical plan, but, and it's a $150 deductible, you know, $1,000 out-of-pocket max. Not a bad deal at all when it comes to coverage, but per month per person, it's $1,293. Ouch. Now that our emotional support animal has fainted at these costs, what are some other options? Well, we've got the Affordable Care Act. You can go to www.healthcare.gov and see which options are available to you in your state. You may be eligible for tax credits because you may have lower income in your retirement. It depends. Also, there's a company called VIA Benefits that AA contracts with, and they can assist you if you're pre-65 and you're looking for an Affordable Care Act plan. They can also assist you if you're post-65 and you're trying to figure out which Medicare plans you want to choose. So www.viabenefits.com, and that information is also in the back of our retirement packet. Okay, Medicare. Employees over 65. Oh, this is if you're still working. So if you're still working, we get this question all the time. I'm still working. I'm not planning on retiring for quite a few years, but I'm turning 65. Do I have to go on Medicare? The answer is no. As long as you're still working and you have qualified coverage through your employer, you're not required to go on Medicare. And you're going to hear people say, you got to go on Medicare, at least sign up for Part A or you'll be penalized. That's not accurate. Most people do sign up for Medicare Part A because there's no cost associated with it. And also, if you're already in this Medicare system when you retire, it might make it a little bit easier to sign up for Medicare Parts B and D in your supplement or Advantage plan. But you're definitely not required to sign up for Medicare while you're still working. So Medicare is comprised of Part A, Part B, and Part D. Part A is the hospital portion. Part B is your regular medical, your doctor's visits, labs, things of that nature, specialist visits. Part D is your prescription drug coverage. So all of these things, when you were active with AA, were rolled into your group health benefits, but Medicare likes, for some strange reason, to separate everything out. They like to confuse us. So you could be subject to late enrollment fees if you don't sign up within a certain time of your retirement date if you're Medicare eligible. And there's a form that you're going to need to fill out if you're 65 or older when you retire. It's called the Medicare Employment Verification Form, also abbreviated as the CMSL 564. And
That's the abbreviation.
that's what they like to call it. They like numbers and letters strung together. So anyway, you send that form. We recommend you send it into the company about 60 days prior to your retirement. That way it takes them about 7 to 10 days to get it back to you in the mail, and they're only going to mail it. They won't email it to you. And once you receive that, you can send that along with your application for Medicare Part B to the Social Security office and contact them, because a lot of them are still on limited hours and operations due to COVID. Some of them have drop-off boxes, some of them want to fax it in, but get it to Social Security, and with that form, you will not be assessed any late enrollment penalties for signing up for Medicare post age 65. All right, here's a copy of it so you can see what it looks like. It's available at www.ssa.gov, medicare.gov. Both of those places you can link and find the form, or if you email me, I'll be happy to email it back to you. I think it's also available on JetNet, in fact. All right, so more about Medicare, more components of Medicare. Medicare itself does not have out-of-pocket max and deductible. So if you're paying 20% of all your medical costs, normally that's not going to be that big of a deal, but if something catastrophic happens to you, that 20% could get pretty big and you could be liable for a lot of pretty hefty expenses. So that's where the Medigap policies come in. Medigap policies provide you with the out-of-pocket max and deductible and limit how much Medicare money you're going to spend. So there are 10 different Medigap plans available. and they're also called Medicare supplement plans. So either Medicare or Medigap or Medicare supplement plan, that means the same thing. AA retirees have an 11th option. It's a Medigap Viva. It was created specifically for retired airline workers and transportation workers, and we do have some information about that on the APFA website. There's also Part C, which are called Medicare Advantage plans. So usually you would normally sign up for one or the other, a Medicare supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. Medicare Advantage plans are structured similarly to an HMO. So if you sign up for one, make sure you know what you're signing up for. You could be limited to a certain network of doctors. If you're in a big metropolitan area, it can be a really good plan and less expensive because when you choose a Medicare Advantage plan, you don't have to pay for your Part D separately. It's included in that. But if you're out in the country, your options may be limited. So just talk to a Medicare advisor, know what you're signing up for, and make sure you choose the plan that's right for you. And you can go to www.medicare.gov for more information. Okay, so the HCTC, that stands for the Health Coverage Tax Credit. It's something that people who have PBGC pensions and are between 55 and 65 and not yet eligible for Medicare may have access to. It provides a 72.5% tax credit on healthcare related premiums. If you're in a qualified plan is not your employer insurance. It could be COBRA. So you got to figure out what's a HCTC eligible plan. It may not be used, like I said, with subsidized insurance such as Medicare, TRICARE, or Affordable Care Act policies. It can be used to cover your COBRA premiums. So say you're retiring a little bit early and you have an PBGC, too many abbreviations. A PBGC pension, you could be eligible for this tax credit, and it's very helpful if you are. Go to www.irs.gov for more information about the HCTC. And it's been funded through the end of the year, but APFA Legislative Affairs Department and your retirement specialists are pushing in DC to try and get that extended. All right, so we've covered a lot of important questions here. What do you need to retire? What do you get in retirement? What about income? Patrick talked a lot about that. So now we're down to the final last details. What else do I need to research? And here's some other things you might want to think about prior to your retirement. Life events. Remember optional insurance, dental insurance, flexible spending accounts. So life events. Just good to keep in mind that your retirement is your spouse or your partner's life event. So if you plan to go on their insurance when you retire, they have 30 days from your retirement date to file a life event and make changes adding you to their insurance coverage. If you're married to another AA employee, remember that if you switch to their insurance, your deductibles and out-of-pockets are going to reset. So if you're retiring and your spouse is an employee and it's, say, October, like it is now, you might want to COBRA your benefits through the end of the year if you have met your deductibles and out-of-pockets. And then during benefits enrollment, they can elect to put you on for 2022. That's just an example, but something to think about if you're retiring, between now and the end of the year. Optional insurance. So examples of optional insurance that we have are the Hyatt Legal, long-term care policies, home and auto policies, all those AA added benefits things, pet insurance. Those can all be continued basically by contacting the administrator and letting them know, hey, start direct billing me. I want to keep my Hyatt Legal. All those numbers are in the back of the APFA retirement packet, and they're available on JetNet. Your employee life insurance and accident insurance will end when you retire. This coverage can be ported or converted into an individual policy, and you need to notify those administrators within 30 days of your retirement date. Can't do it before. AA is going to send a message that you've retired and you can only do it after you retire. But you can contact them and let them know, try and find out what the procedure is ahead of time. It doesn't, the good thing is it doesn't require a physical exam to qualify for this life insurance. It can be expensive when it switches from the company group policy to an individual policy. You do have the option to just port or convert a portion of the life insurance that you had with the company if you want to do that. You would contact MetLife for the life insurance, or you could contact Lina for the AD&D and voluntary personal accident insurance. Your long-term and short-term disability will end. Patrick always likes to say, you retire and all your STDs will end magically. So
No more layovers.
No more layovers. Yep, that's what happens. So long-term and short-term disability, your coverage will end. However, if you're receiving the benefits and you're still disabled, according to the provisions of those plans, you could continue to get long and short-term disability benefits beyond your retirement date. Dental insurance. This is scary because it seems like nobody really wants to look after old people's teeth. It's hard to find dental insurance after you retire. So MetLife offers retiree dental insurance to AA employees. It's zip code rated and it's high dollar, low benefit. Not a very good deal. Not very many people take the retiree dental insurance that's offered by AA. So what are some other options? Well, the AA credit union has a dental club through Benefit Services of America. A lot of people go that route. Costco has something similar. They're basically a network that you join, and if you go to the people in their network, they offer you a discount. It's not true insurance, but it can save you some money if you decide to join up with those. Dental schools, you can be a guinea pig. Basically, once everything stops bleeding, your teeth will look great. And also, some Medicare supplement plans are now starting to offer better options for dental. So if you speak to your Medicare advisor, let them know you want decent dental insurance when you retire, and hopefully they'll have some options available for you. All right, flex spending. Basically, the main thing to think about with your flex spending is if you put in to, say, deposit $1,000 a month, for instance, into your flex spending account, and it's only 6 months into the year, and then you're going to retire, you want to use your full allotment of flex spending prior to your retirement. Because normally, if you don't use your whole flex spending amount in a year, $500 will roll over into the next year. But if it's above $500, you'll lose the rest. If you use the full allotment and you've only made $6,000 worth of deposits halfway through the year and then you retire, but you've used the whole $12,000, AA is going to have to eat the rest of it. So it's best course of action to use up all of your flex spending dollars prior to your retirement. I think this is coming to the conclusion of our presentation. You guys have been very patient. We've had a lot of questions today, and now it's your turn to decide if you're ready to retirement. And I think Patrick has a few things he'd like to say about that.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, and we are aware there are a lot of moving pieces to this, but I'm confident that there's nothing you can't handle. Through my entire career, I have been amazed at what flight attendants can do, what they do. And I am sure that any flight attendant that got this far and is now ready to retire is going to handle this well. How are you going to do it? What do you need to do before you leave? Start a list. Okay, there's a great checklist on page 39 of the APFA retirement package. Good slide, and that's a good place to start that list. How do you follow a checklist? We do this every year in CQ, one task, step at a time, in order. So you should put together your planned departure checklist. It will work wonders. While you're going through this process, do not be afraid to ask questions. Ask your supervisor, who won't know, but will get back to you. Ask the AA retirement folks. They will answer what they can. Ask APFA. We have a lot of resources for you. We have some really experienced people in the retirement department who can answer your questions. And like I say, I'm confident that you are prepared. You've got this. You're ready. Let's go. And I could see Q. Good slide.
Good slide.
All right. Thank you guys for all of that. Oh, wait. Yeah,
That's
questions. There we go. All right, perfect. Let's start going down the list. This individual took the third VOP and their retirement date is 4/1/2022. They'll be 65 in March and we'll start the Medicare process in December. Open for enrollment for AA medical begins in October, so they're enrolling, so it won't be uninsured January, February, March. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff going on. After April 1st, will their premium stay at the current rate for 18 months, or does COBRA kick in at the same rate? And where in the world does RHRA fit into all of this?
Okay, let me take a couple pieces of that and then I'll let Kim take it. When you actually retire, one of two things is going to happen. If you're over 65, you will go to Medicare. End of discussion. If you're not yet 65, you are eligible for an additional 18 months of COBRA at the company subsidized rate. So you always have to look at what your reduced rates are as a result of the VOP instead of COBRA rates. And you absolutely have that down right. You're going to have two different sets of insurance. You're going to have the insurance that you've continued as an active employee. And so you're going to want to do your annual enrollment. Is that next week coming up?
That's next week.
Yeah.
coming
Next
up.
week, yeah. So you're going to want to do that to make sure that you've got that part. If you're not yet 65 and you go into COBRA, you're just going to keep that. So there's nothing to do for the second part of the year. If, however, you are over 65, you have to start getting your Medicare in order to kick in on the day you retire.
Right, and you can sign up for Medicare prior to your retirement date if you want to. You said your birthday's in March, so you'd be signing up for Medicare a month early while you still have the AA active benefits. If you choose to sign up for Medicare while you have AA active benefits, it will automatically be secondary to the AA active benefits. But once you retire on April 1st, it's gonna flip, and your Medicare is gonna be primary and your AA benefits will be secondary. At that point, you're gonna want to question whether you want to keep paying for the AA medical benefits. Most people drop the AA medical benefits and sign up for a Medicare supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. Most people do continue to keep their dental and vision via COBRA. So, but you have a lot of time to think about this and talk to a Medicare advisor and decide what the best option is for you.
My fiance took early out in 2021. Can I be added to his insurance plan?
So if your employee, okay, your fiance took the early out, are you still working? I think you can be added to his, if you get married.
If you get married.
Not as your fiance, but once you get married, yes, he will have a life event and can add you to his coverage. So yes, as a fiance, no. As a married person, yes.
Where do I find the form to fill out to get my RHRA money?
All right, the RHRA, I'm not sure that there is a form. All of this is done online. So you can choose to go to Alight, which is accessible via the Benefits Service Center, which you get to from the retirees website. And you go on there and you go to, the Smart Choice page. And that's where it tells you how to submit your information. I think you have to download it or maybe fax it into them. The easiest thing I've been hearing from retirees who have the RHRA, there's an app you can put on your phone. So you put the app on your phone, you take a picture on your phone of your receipt. It's really easy to get the picture from your phone, from the app on your phone, and upload your expense information, and then you get reimbursed. So that's the easiest way, according to all the retirees I've been speaking to. If you're having trouble trying to figure out the RHRA, just email me or call me. The retirement extension here at APFA is extension 8490, or the email is retirement@apfa.org. Or you can also call Alight, and you may be able to get a hold of a rep who can assist you. There you go.
Great.
And there's actually a way to short circuit some of that. You can also get the Alight debit card, MasterCard. And if you use that to pay for the expenses, then you don't have to go through and do the whole file for it thing. You may have to substantiate it because they want to make sure that when you went to CVS and used that MasterCard, you were getting medicine and not beer. Although I think of beer as medicine, we disagree.
And you can use the card, which is sent to you if you have the RHRA. You can use that for smaller expenses, such as your, prescriptions and so on. However, if it's a premium, like you're trying to get reimbursed for your COBRA premiums or your Medicare premiums, you're going to have to pay for those first and then submit proof that you paid for it and then get reimbursed. So there's a little bit of a process.
So I know we already addressed this question, but it came in again. If I'm terminated for any reason, do I still get my pension?
If you're terminated for any reason, you always are able to keep your pension.
Okay. What happens to your supplemental life insurance policy?
Well, you have the option to continue, but when you say supplemental, we're assuming that you're talking about that extra part you can buy, that you get the $70,000, which we call the 2X company paid life insurance, and then you can buy 3X, 4X, 5X on top of that. If that's what you're talking about, then you have the option of continuing that after you leave by either, as Kim was explaining, port or convert. I'll tell you, it's pretty expensive, but if you're gonna die soon, it's cheap to pay those premiums and get the cash out.
What is RHRA?
Retiree health reimbursement arrangement.
Okay. What happens to HSA?
You get to keep your HSA balance, and you can use that for anything that is medically qualified, including your Medicare premiums.
How do you get reimbursed for premiums and medications? Does the company load up a light card to pay for medications at pharmacy? In essence, how does the $100,000 reimbursement work?
Okay, so the $100,000 is not money. It's not actual money that's loaded somewhere. It's not money that's sitting in an account with your name on it. It's a promise to pay. So it's basically credit with your name on it. So when you run the card, it recognizes that you're eligible for that much credit and it will pay. And it will keep track of how much, credit you have as you submit items for reimbursement, so that $100,000 that you started out with will go down gradually, and you should be able to see that on the Smart Choice website. But it's not actually money, but it does translate into money once you submit the items to be credited for.
If I'm terminated before I retire, is sick time and vacation time paid out?
If you're terminated before you retire, your vacation is paid out because it's contractual, but your sick time is not paid out. Now, we have heard from the company that if you're eventually terminated because of the mandate thing, or your employment ends because of the mandate thing, if you're eligible for the 65-point plan, you will be considered a retiree and you will be entitled to retirement benefits. And one of those benefits is being paid out for your sick time.
Will there be a bridge to Medicare offered for those who are a couple years shy of 65?
No, but you've got a couple of options that we talked about. You've got the COBRA for 18 months. You've got an ACA plan. One of the things that VIA benefits people, if you call them, can not only tell you about ACA plans, but they also have a list of private plans in each state. So if you tell them what state or zip code you're in, they can tell you have these ACA plan options. You can also get this, Blue Cross option that's available just to the general public.
All right, we're just about at time. Let's see if there's any quick fire ones. Can I cancel my COBRA coverage, tongue twister, for any vision or dental at any time?
It's really easy to cancel your COBRA coverage. Just don't make the payment. But yes, you can call up Light, who also administers the COBRA, and let them know that you want to end your COBRA coverage at any time.
Where do I find the APFA retirement packet?
APFA retirement packet is available on the APFA website. If you go to departments And then retirement, it's in there on that page. And also you can call and ask me to send you one in the mail if you prefer to get a hard copy of it. Or I can email it to you as well.
What's my obligation to Medicare if I retire at age 60?
Nothing. You have no obligation to Medicare and actually no access to Medicare either at age 60.
Unless you're disabled.
Right, unless you're disabled.
Speaking of disability, can I retire after disability at 56?
Yes.
Yes, an interesting thing, we ran the numbers many years ago, and I assume it's still true, that probably half of our people retire from an inactive status, either sick or disabled.
Is there an employee stock purchase program?
No, hasn't been one since the bankruptcy.
When does someone on EVLOA apply for? Lost that one. How much, do you still get COLA raises after 70?
I've never heard it called that. We call it the delayed start pension credit, but I think that's what you're asking about. So yeah,
After 70 and a half.
after 70 and a half on the LAA pension.
When do we get our Smart Choice card?
If you already have a Smart Choice card, you're going to keep using that. So say you had a healthcare FSA and you had the card. If you don't have a Smart Choice card, and I'm assuming this is somebody who has an RHRA, they're going to send it to you supposedly within 30 days of your retirement date.
All right. That is just about all the time we have. I'll hand it back over to you guys to close out.
Well, we appreciate everybody calling in today and listening, and hope we were able to cover a lot of the questions. We know there were some we weren't able to get to, so just email those to us at retirement@apfa.org, and we'll try and get you your answers. Anything from you, Patrick?
No, you will find that there are a lot of moving pieces to this, and don't hesitate to ask questions. In addition to emailing at retirement@apfa.org, you can call and leave a message at extension 8490. This is 8490, but I warn you, there's a lot of messages, so there may be a little bit before we get back to you.
We do our best, but basically we are the department, and sometimes it's just me. So I try to get back to everybody as quickly as possible. If you call once and leave a message, I will call you back. Calling more than once kind of clogs up the line. So, and all of our calls are a little bit long. So at least I would say 15, 20 minutes often each call. So that's why we're on the phone all the time and it goes to voicemail. So be patient and we'll do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. We promise.
Thank you, everyone. Fly safe.
Thank you.